and welcome back to the Starving Artist Development Podcast, where we talk to Detroit's cultural artists as we discuss the highs, the lows, artist development, and the creativity that helped shape Detroit's originality. I am your host, Gabrielle Caruthers. Today, I have a very special guest. Now, mind you, I say this all the time. All of my guests are special, but the reason why this person is special to me because we've done a podcast episode together and we talked about hip hop and the climate of hip hop. And I have always had the utmost respect for this individual as an artist, as a lyricist, as a hip hop enthusiast and hip hop historian. I can honestly say he is the professor of hip hop. He is also the founder of Plotting on a Million and business owner of Freeman's Bureau.
Yep.
The reason why this episode is so special to me is because when I recorded my last podcast, Dreamery Taught Me, he was one of the last episodes that I recorded. And his episode meant more to me than anything because when I look back and I reflect on some of the things that we talked about, his episode gave me the push to launch the Starving Artist Development Podcast. I would like to welcome my dear friend, Train Freeman.
What up, though? What's good, everybody? Gabby, how we doing?
First and foremost, thank you for sitting down with me and for talking and of course, just politicking with me. I have always respect who you are as an individual. We have had numerous conversations outside of just hip hop and politics. We have talked about life, we've talked about family, we've talked about everything under the sun. And you have
Absolutely.
always imparted so much wisdom, and I've always respected everything that you've ever said. And that's why I am excited to sit down with you to talk to you because we haven't talked in so long.
Mhm.
We
Yeah,
haven't talked in a long time, but welcome to the Starving Artist
man,
Development
it's
Podcast.
it's truly a blessing to be here. When you was going through my little list of stuff, this is one of my things. You know how like when you go to church and they got the guest pastor and they be reading off the bio, and pastor be sitting there like this, the one right here. They sit like that's I almost hit. I almost took that swig of that water and hit that the
Because you
pastor. Then
listen,
sit back. You said author, Freeman's. I'm sitting there like no, but
doesn't it
like
feel
I
good though? It feels
yeah.
good when you say it out loud because sometimes we're so invested in the art, we never take the time to sit and just celebrate everything that we've done and we've accomplished because we're always chasing a new high, right? It's always, okay, well, what's
Right.
next? What else do I have to do? But then having that moment, that pastor pause and just sitting and
Hmm.
really reflecting and saying, wow, I really am doing that. I did do that. And I did
Hmm.
accomplish that. And
Yeah.
if anything, as a cultural artist here in Detroit, there are so many cultural artists here that are not being given the credit when credit is due. And I feel like if somebody is going to get any credit, I will definitely be the one to give you the space and the opportunity to one, give you your flowers while you are still here because why not, right? Why not celebrate you while you're still here? Why wait until it's too late to celebrate these amazing people here doing amazing things and that continue to do amazing things? So, of course, it is a pleasure to highlight everything that you have ever done, that you continue to accomplish, and I am so excited to be doing this interview with you. So, let's break bread.
Thank you.
All
Thank you.
right,
Shall we?
shall we break bread? Well, one, when I met you, I met you at the Going Up Comedy Show that our friend Desmond Clever Lester used to put on
Shout
every
out to my brother
Tuesday.
Clever.
And we did an interview too, and it was such a pleasure talking to him and just,
Hmm.
picking his brain. And he always, has some amazing insight about marketing, about the city of Detroit, and just giving back to the city. And the best part was just being able to give people a platform to put their art out there for other people to see, right? And you being
Absolutely.
an artist, when did you finally decide that this is something I want to do?
Ooh, that's a multi-layered question. So you're saying when did I really be like, yo, this is something I really, really want to do?
Yeah.
Be an artist for real. I would say like the first real thought where, because I started like rapping when I was like maybe like 11, 12, and then I had a couple little groups and stuff. But like when I was really like, yo, I'm gonna do this for real, I think it really started coming together when I was like 17, 18. Yeah. And I didn't always have the, I guess you would say, the vehicle, but I knew that I wanted to be an artist. You know, like for real, for real.
So I know for most artists that start out, they use pretty much their humble beginnings as a means of inspiration to
Hmm.
formulate, a lot of their music. And I want to know, does your personal background influence your music in any way?
So just a little bit about me. I grew up in a musical household, and not a traditional musical household, meaning like, oh, my parents played instruments and all stuff like that. No, I was just always surrounded by this thing called music. When I'm in the car with my mother, I was always very close and still am very close with my mom. She would play a lot of like old school soul, but primarily like coming up, she would play a lot of gospel in the car. We were, raised in church. That's where I got exposed to like the Clark sisters, BB and CC Winans, Helen Baylor, Ron Canoli. Like I'm going back with that, just to name a few. And then when I'm in the car with my father will play a lot of kind of soul, too. But his bag was really jazz,
Mm,
and you know, so from him, it's like, okay, I got exposed to like Dave Brubeck, Miles Davis, Coltrane, and like one of his favorite artists was Sade. Sade is one of my favorite artists of all time, and I attribute that to my father. So then, with me having older siblings, I would hang around in my brother and sister's rooms, and I was introduced to this thing called hip hop, and I would hear their music. A lot of people in my age bracket, there are certain things that I can remember that maybe certain people my age can't remember because I had older siblings.
mm,
So it's like I remember when certain videos came on, and certain things, and trying to steal my sister clothes or be a part of like certain things. Like I remember those moments and me just being captivated by the music and its lifestyle, and then like the music that had cussing in it, me trying to sneak and listen to this stuff. So it was like all of those things kind of fused together, you know, um, really kind of made me, who I am. And then, especially like the era that we grew up in, you know, um, I was just really sensitive to the world around me and the music that was around. Like, really, I have a good memory, but a lot of my memories are connected to moments, which are connected to songs. So, like,
mm.
I can remember certain moments in life, and I can usually remember a song or something. Like, it kind of intertwines, So, um,
I'm
I
glad you
guess,
said.
yeah. So, just to kind of keep going, it's like, okay, so um I realized like maybe I'd say 10, 11 ish, something like that. I'm like, oh, I was really kind of trying my hand at rapping, stuff like that, little simple stuff. And I was like, oh, I really kind of like this. Nobody knew. I had a little talk boy, and I would record little stuff on my talk boy, and try to learn lyrics and things like that. And um I remember like, coming up in church, and uh it's like, okay, I go to church, Christian household, but at the same time, I got all these musical experiences, and it's just like looking back, they never really clashed. Really, it just almost like kind of created this hybrid. So it's like coming up in church, like we talking after teenage year, just continuously. It's like, okay, when I first started like rapping, like my first time rapping was at a church talent show with my boys, and
Mm,
like everybody was shocked because I didn't tell anybody. like I went up to the stage and everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's him," you know, and I tore it down. But coming up in there, it was like, okay, being in church, you're gonna use your voice for God, you're gonna be a Christian artist, all that stuff like that. And it's like I did that. I was a Christian artist, but the thing that I would notice is I'm like, okay, outside of this sector though, I'm still inspired by a lot of these things. And there are a lot of other artists like this that are inspired by these same artists, but they're too scared to say it, or I'm going through real life. And it's like I always wanted to talk about life. I've always wanted to implement that. So if I'm young, I'm like, okay, this girl kind of broke my heart. But I got to talk about the praises of God because that's the type of artist that, you know. So it's like was really trying to find that balance, and I wrestled with that for a very long time until like I finally got to the point where it was just like, okay, I'm an artist. I'm going to talk about life. I'm inspired by everything. Like this doesn't make me any more or less of a man of faith or anything like that. But it was like something that I had wrestled with for a long time. Like next she does movies like, well, mama, I want to sing, but you gotta stay in church.
Mm.
Like those type of situations. But yeah, like that's kind of really like the pivotal, I guess. I know it's kind of long-winded with the answer, but that's like really, I guess you would say, the foundation. We can shade in the lines a little bit more, but that's really kind of the foundation of what made me who who and what I am musically.
Well, I love your foundational upbringing because a lot of what you said is a lot of what I experienced growing up. My mom played a lot of jazz, smooth jazz, the 98.7, right? And of course, Tom Joyner Morning Show, that was my thing. And then my dad played a lot of Motown, right? A lot of
Mhm.
soul. And that, part of just growing up and being exposed to different kinds of music and different elements of music I know helped shaped my ear for music as a dance educator. And then me
Mhm.
having older siblings because I am the youngest. My sister used to always play Junior Mafia's album. And she used to always play Biggie's album, Ready to Die. So I could rap any Biggie or Junior Mafia lyric because I would go to sleep listening to this music. And I'm like, what in the world, right? But I was so
Yeah,
excited. I think her and I went to like a trap karaoke and I was like rapping every lyric, even Jay-Z's Big Pip. And I was like, do you understand how monumental this is for me as an adult that I get to hang out with my oldest sister and rap Big Pimpin' and not get in trouble, right? So I
yeah.
definitely understand that.
Them older siblings of his different. I remember my last listening party, my older sister being there and me just kind of giving her flowers and saying like a lot of who y'all think I am or what made me a student of the game in terms of hip hop. I attribute a lot of that to my sister. So it's funny you mentioned about Biggie. Some people ask, I don't know if you were gonna ask, but some people be like, "Oh, when did you fall in love with hip hop?" And it's like two moments that I have kind of narrowed it down to. And um it was a Saturday afternoon evening. I remember listening to WJLB, cleaning my room. It used to take me all day to clean my room because I was just easily distracted. But anyways, Juicy comes on the radio. And again, because of how I was raised, I knew the song Juicy Fruit. So I thought it was that, but then I heard him rapping. And then I remember him saying blow up like the World Trade. And I just remember being like, me connecting to that because I remember the World Trade bombing in 1993. And it was just like a moment. Like I just remember being captivated by that song. And it was just like a big thing, and him telling his story, and then the third verse, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, like it was like remember wanting those things, and then, um, again because of older siblings, I remember when my sister got Chris Cross, Totally Crossed Out first album for Christmas one year, and I was just like a huge like as quiet as it's kept. I don't tell a lot of people this, but I probably can rap most of the Totally Crossed Out album to this
Listen,
day.
that's a slept on album. I'm
It's
gonna
very
be
slept on.
honest. It's slept on.
Is very slept on. Because it was one of those albums where it was two kids, but it was like made for it wasn't watered down for kids. Like it wasn't vulgar, but it was a good hip hop album that everybody could appreciate. But fast forward some years later, get a little bit older, Criss Cross, I think it was their third and final album. Y'all might remember this song called "Tonight's the Night," and "Tonight's the Night" came out, and that was around the time I remember it like the Air Jordan 11s had just come out. I think Chris Smith had the 11s on in the video, and I just remember hearing that for the first time, and it just put me in that mind state at that age. Like I felt like I was going out, walking around the house, please, my whole crew makes G's. Tonight's the night. So it's just like that's the moments where I'm like, oh, this music and this culture, you know. And the other thing that like in that uh that the R&B blueprint is so heavy within me myself, also with my siblings, where me being exposed to um like New Edition, I'm the hugest New Edition fan because coming up with my with my siblings, Michael Jackson is my idol. But just in terms of like 90s R&B, like hearing all of this stuff, like again, I remember when my sister got What's the 411 on CD, she went to the little dollar store and got me My Life on tape, you know, Boys to Men first two albums, like
Yes.
we had Another Bad Creation on tape. I stole her tape, you know.
I
But
feel
yeah,
like you're
like
going in my music vault right now. Like this is crazy. I'm so serious. Everything that you're bringing up, like, is everything that is a part of my childhood, and I can remember where I was at and what I was doing, what I was wearing, what I was eating. Uh, when we talk about music like this, and how the fact that we can connect music to a memory or to a moment, and how powerful that is, and how music can essentially be a reminder of um great memories or not so great memories, right?
correct.
You're literally in my vault. As a kid, everything that you said
Yeah.
is, I think, everything that also made me fall in love with hip hop. And yes, I was going to ask you, when did you fall in love with hip hop? But you got me. But I got another question for you.
What's
Being
up?
that your sister influenced your love for hip hop, when did you realize that you would pursue hip hop from a hood scholarly perspective?
So this is another multi-layered question where it's like I would say who really made me want to pick up a mic and I can't wait to meet this person. Um Nas. And my sister, this is how deep into hip hop my sister was. My sister had Illmatic on tape. I didn't really hear about Nas probably. I think it was written and I went back and got it was Matic, I mean Illmatic, you know, on tape, and I didn't fully understand it. But my sister was a day zero Jay-Z fan. Like she had the street version of Reasonable Doubt. She had Dead Presidents. If you know Dead Presidents, it was Dead Presidents, and then the B-side was Ain't No. She had that on CD, you know, like had Dead Presidents one, like when I like literally day zero Jay-Z. So when Jay-Z like finally like popped, everybody was like, oh, this nigga was like, nah, he been around. You know, stuff like that. But it was Nas for me that like really made me want to take that next step forward. But I think also too coming up, you know, where it's like being um born in Detroit, having roots in Detroit, but spending, you know, pretty much a lot of like my formative years in like Southfield and, you know, operating like navigating this world and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, I'm a first fist fight over here, but at the same time, you know, you got this world over here, and you go to the library, and you might see the Jewish kids at the library and things like that, and it's just like, you know, coming up in neighborhoods where, you know, some of us like, you know, trying to do the right thing, you know, trying to be, you know, good black neighborhood, like trying to navigate that world, you know, as well. And I think so. It's like you got the Nas, but I think the last piece, and I have to give this person credit too. I remember being in high school. I remember when Kanye West dropped,
Mm,
and I remember Kanye made it cool for a lot of people if you wasn't really trying to be a street rapper. Like obviously he wasn't the first backpacker, he wasn't the first conscious rapper, but that I'm actually from Chicago, but I'm not super duper hood like that. Like, you know, my mama's a college professor. You know, I'm kind of smart. I dropped out, but I'm into art. You know, I'm in the streetwear, but I'm not a street dude. And I can just be myself. Like, it was just like, it was a moment. It was like,
yeah.
yo, I could actually really be me. a little bit more now. So it was I have to connect the dots, with both of those. But being I guess you would say, not just I won't say a product of my environment, but just being very sensitive and being a student to my environment.
Mm,
Nas planted, that seed. Just in terms of like storytelling, like when you hear records like "I Gave You Power," and then later on, you got Undying Love, and then when you hear Rewind, things like that, and a lot of records in between. But those are the ones where, from a storytelling standpoint, it's like it just like really, really brought you into this world, and made you want to really tell my story. You know,
yeah.
so yeah.
And you know what? I would ask you what your favorite Nas album between Illmatic and It Was Written is. And I know that I've gotten into many debates with many of people about why I feel like It Was Written was a little bit better than Illmatic, even though Illmatic is still a classic album. There was something about It Was Written in the mafioso storytelling that really did it for me, right? And when we talk about storytelling, one thing I can say for sure is when I heard your song Plotting on a Million, I listened to your EP. You are a storyteller, right? I remember living downtown on Jefferson. I grew up downtown my entire life. Downtown Midtown area, right? But I guess we could say East Jefferson is the east side, right? And there
Mhm.
was this loft called the Lofts. And in our window, you could always see the fountain from Belle Isle, but you could also hear the cars and the music pumping in the middle of summer and the honking of the horns. And I'm a city girl, right? So that's nostalgic for me. That's like white noise for me. And I remember playing your EP, Plotting on a Million, when I used to have to travel for my job. And I was like, this makes me feel like I'm a kid again. And I am looking at the cars riding down Belle Isle, or the Dream Cruise when my dad used to have his old school caddies and we used to get in the car with him and we used to ride down Woodward during the Dream Cruise. So I definitely feel like you were telling a story even with, your song Plotting on a Million. And I want to get into that. So I know that you are the founder of Plotting on a Million. Can you tell the audience what that's about
Absolutely.
and why you decided to come up with Plot on a Million?
Um, but really, like I say, it started as the song lyric, like the official name, everybody calls it Platinum Me, but the actual name of the song is Radio Raheem.
Radio Raheem. Yep.
But it's just like, again, it's that being inspired. It's really just all rooted and entrenched in the culture. But Plotting on a Million is really, it's not just actually plotting on a million. It's about a state of mind. It's about being locked in. Like, you could be plotting on anything. When you say plotting on a million, it's like, okay, you trying to um pretty much go to the next level or elevate to the highest level. Like, I'm really thinking and just really working, focused, and just trying to manifest on, you know, how to get there. And that's really what it was about. Like, like the song says, plotting on a million, riding through the city, sipping Henny, feeling brilliant. It's just like, okay, like that's when you sipping. It wasn't necessarily like a drink and drive. No, I'm not necessarily condoning that, but it's just, it's a vibe, like those days riding down Jefferson, riding down Belle Isle, just really taking in the scenery at night, the city lights, or in the daytime, like a sunny day. Like, it's just really like, it's something about riding down Jefferson and just riding through the city that just, I don't know, like Detroit is a place like nobody else. Like, we're built different. Like, our resilience, the blue collar energy we have, like, we hustlers by nature. So it's just like, when you say plotting on a million, it's just the wheels are turning. How can I get
Mm,
to the next level? What the
okay.
goal is. How can I set myself up? How can I create a legacy? How can I attain more success and, be able to be a blessing to others? And in terms of the merch, it was really just the songs called Radio Raheem, the whole do the right thing thing, just it just kind of came together and it stuck, and it took off. So,
And I
and
mean,
then
it was genius.
yeah,
Like it's genius.
and it's like I sometimes like because that word gets thrown around so much, I have a hard like you just saw right now. I'm kind of like, yeah, it was because I sometimes don't like saying it because you just used to so many people saying that about themselves, and everybody just kind of throws that word around. But it really was a moment where just I call it an aha moment where everything just kind of came together and it resonated with people, and it's something that I'm proud of because it actually transcended the song. It became a brand and a lifestyle within itself, and I can't wait to really bring the merch back, and I got a lot of amazing ideas along. Um, we haven't even scratched the surface on plotting on a million. That's all I'm gonna say about that right now. Is that is the merch is coming back, and we're about to take it, places that we haven't before.
Well, I would say this. I'm so mad. I don't know where my shirt is. I have no idea where my shirt is at. I moved and it just came up missing. And I'm like, really, the last shirt that I needed to come up missing comes up missing. But when it came to, the Radio Raheem and the Plotting on a Million t-shirt design, I mean, one, like I said, is genius marketing, right? Because we have artists that create merch, but they don't connect the dots. Like, why are we creating this merch? Why does this merch make sense? And how does it relate to the song, but also to the brand of the artist, right? And with you being a storyteller, you also understand artist branding and artist development as well as artist marketing. So that's good. That's a good thing to have as an artist because a lot of artists in general still struggle with that aspect of branding and figuring out who they are and what they bring to the table and why they're unique, right? So
Correct.
that's honestly, like I said, Plotting on a Million merch as it related to the song Radio Raheem and how everything connected. It honestly, that was genius. Thoroughly think that was an
I
amazing
appreciate it.
idea. And I cannot wait for you to release or re-release your merch because I will be buying two shirts because I cannot believe I cannot find my shirt.
Yeah, I remember when I remember when not only did you buy the two shirts, like you approached me like not like, hey bro, let me get some shirts. No, but you were like, hey, I want to purchase it, blah blah. And then you were like, is there a confirmation number? Do you have an ETA? I was like, oh, she on it. And I remember delivering them to the comedy shop. Like it, I remember this. Like I was in a walking boot, I think. I think I messed up my foot, and I bought you your two shirts, the blue ones. I got a picture in there somewhere, but yeah.
Yeah, I
Like,
gotta find my picture too. Yeah.
I got them. I'm probably gonna start posting them on apply when I relaunch. I'm gonna post everybody's pictures, on the apply on the million page. But yeah,
Well,
so
I listen, I can't wait. I'm excited. I will get my two shirts again and I'll make sure that hubby gets a shirt also and baby girl gets a shirt because he's going
absolutely,
to ask, you got a shirt? They give me one. So I understand.
oh, absolutely. I'm,
So
I'm I'm gonna get everybody together.
now, being that you are, I would say you're a business mogul.
You speaking life. That do I gotta get in the pastor bag again?
But I'm no, but I'm serious though. Like you're a mogul. Like I'm not. The thing is that when I talk about my friends, I talk about it because you're walking in your purpose, right? So
Absolutely,
when I say something, it's because no, that's what you're genuinely doing. And I think sometimes when we talk about, who we are, what we do in our humble beginnings, like we really downplay our gifts, but you really are a business mogul when it comes to understanding music and business, well, working in business as an artist, right? Again, a lot of people lack that knowledge and that resource. But sometimes you have to learn as you go, right? You have to make mistakes. You have to fall in your behind. You have to learn hard lessons in the process. But
absolutely,
for me, what I can appreciate about you as, a lyricist, as an entertainer, as a multi, business mogul is how you've always remained humble but approachable and authentic as a person,
I appreciate
outside
that.
of Train Freeman, right? You've always been
Absolutely.
a kind spirited individual. And I see how you love on your children. I see how you love on your wife. And I know sometimes you keep that part of your life private, right? But seeing that part, seeing that side of you, I feel like it amplifies you even more as an artist because at the end of the day, you do it for them, and it's just a gift that was implanted in you from God. Uh, and by that seed being implanted, you can feel the love radiating from you when you do go on stage, when you do record an EP, when you do release merch, right? When you do talk about hip hop from, and I always say a hood scholarly perspective, but like literally as a scholar of hip hop, as a hip hop enthusiast, as a hip hop historian, um,
Absolutely.
you give it your all. You give it
Absolutely.
200%. And I need you to know that because I know sometimes I don't always say things, but I'm always watching what everybody is doing, and I'm always rooting for everybody. And I've always rooted for you. Like when we sat down and we had that talk one day at Starbucks, and you mentioned about me getting into artist management, and I was like, this dude tripping, right? I'm like, what do I look like managing an artist? But then now that we started the podcast and the different community partnerships I'm starting to form, I'm like, it's not that I would want to manage an artist. I would want to work with other organizations to act as a pillar for artists in the community because
Absolutely.
there are still some things where we're not being represented. And I'm sitting in meetings where I don't see a lot of us sitting in these meetings. So I feel that it's important for me to sit in these meetings where you don't see a lot of us sitting in these meetings. And
100.
even
Absolutely.
after tonight's meeting, I was like, for every person that was in that meeting, I think I saw three of us.
Mm,
And that was out of 30.
that's deep. Wow.
That was out of 30. It's, for me, it's not about managing the artist. It is simply about advocating for artist rights, and not just musicians, but for all cultural artists alike, because I know what that feels like when you put your heart and soul into a project and then people steal from you and capitalize off of your intellectual property, right? So, speaking of intellectual
Man, you
property,
you flowing right now. You just don't even know it. Go ahead.
I mean, but this like I said, this what we're doing here on this platform, people think that I'm just joking. And I talk to God every morning. I talk to
Hmm.
God, sometimes like in the middle of the day, and I talk to God at night, and I'm like, order my steps. What am I supposed to do? I know
Absolutely.
I said I was going to take a step back from teaching dance because I know that my purpose is bigger than what I was doing. And I couldn't
Hmm.
accomplish that at my old job. So I had to leave my old job because the things that I know I needed to do, I couldn't do them there. So I literally every morning I have to pray on it and just ask God, what are my steps? Some days I don't know what I'm doing, but then there are some days where I am fully confident in what it is that I bring to the table and how I can help my people here in the city. So many times we hear people saying, "Oh, I'm a look out for you. I'm gonna do it," and it's like, no, I've been doing this since 2014, and people don't know this. And when I
Mm,
started looking at my archive of pictures and old videos from Facebook, thank God Facebook kept a lot of my stuff. I was like,
absolutely.
this has always been my mission. It was just under a different name.
When
And now
you
here
have
we are, right?
yeah,
So
when you have those moments of realization, it's kind of like I guess you say the aha moment. When it's just like some of the things that have kind of been under your nose the whole time. it's almost like putting on glasses and it just like becomes like crystal clear. It's like, where were you the whole time? It's like you wasn't really focusing on it, or maybe it wasn't time for you to see it that way. I definitely get that. And you were touching on something that was really kind of dear to me, when you were talking about, you know, being a pillar in the city and helping artists. And, you know, there's certain things I know, certain things I've been through, but I'm not ever going to sit here and act like I have everything figured out. But I do want to help with what I know. And one of the things that no matter how much I try to lie to myself or be in denial, I am very passionate about artists and I'm very passionate about the culture. Um, the Making sure the history is told correctly, making sure it's preserved, but also making sure the artists that come after me and even the ones with me, have the proper tools. So like um the way like Freeman's Bureau came about is just like not only am I a hip hop historian, but I also was a history buff in school. American history is one of my favorite subjects. And I just remember if you go back in history books and you look post the Civil War, North wins the war, a lot of these slaves got free. And from there, it's like, okay, what do you do? They don't have any resources, they don't have anything like that. And they formed what's called the Freedmen's Bureau. And the
Mm.
Freedmen's Bureau was established to help, these newfound, you know, slaves, who are free, have resources, and things like that, so that pretty much they can navigate. And I want to do the same thing, with artists, where it's like I want to be able to provide direction and resources. So that's how Freeman's Bureau came about, is, paying homage to those that came before me, but also blazing that trail, for those to be able to come after me. So that's really where, that came from. And that's the whole mission behind that. Is it's like, okay, it'll be a imprint for myself, but really it's about, okay, what can I do for artists? Like I really want to, have a few more artists under my wing. I want to be more hands-on with any, with certain artists. Like there are a few projects that I was supposed to be executive producing and they kind of got put on hold, but that's something that I really, really want to do. Be able to see a project from start to finish and really, be able to take an artist where it's like, okay, the music is good, but it needs this type of push, or maybe we need this and we tweak this a little bit and boom. So yeah, it's something that's definitely you will see more of, with Freeman's Bureau, and it's something that uh brings me great joy. So
It's something that's needed in the community. And one, I mean, damn, because the way that again, it's the storytelling. It's really taking the time to build not just a brand, but build a legacy. Like you said, cultivate an imprint, right? And not just come up with a business name for the sake of coming up with a business name, but creating and sustaining something that is meaningful, that is impactful, but that will also ultimately carry out and help other
absolutely,
artists, artists. And I keep
absolutely.
the artist. So as soon as you said it resonated with me, and I'm touched by took to create something like this.
Hmm.
So thank you for one, thank you for that. And I know, given this climate of what's going on in the world, how do you remain consistent in your creative pursuits? Like, do you have moments where you're just like, I really just need to take a step back and just have a moment to clear my head? Or are you like, you know what? I can still create with everything that's going on in the world and I'm okay.
That's a heavy question because I'm just now really in full transparency, kind of getting my footing kind of back. We have this, it's not a joke, but it is a joke where it's like after Train, friends would say after Train drops a project, that's when life starts lifing, and it's
Mm.
like boom, and then they'll say usually when life starts lifing, that kind of is the inspiration leading into the next project. But my goal is I've always wanted to have enough material content, whatever, where I can be present even when I'm not present. And I have gotten there, but I not to the point of where I truly am able to kind of carry that out. Um, but no, this has been probably a since I drive. Yes, I take it personal. It um it has been rough. Like the pandemic, like was the pandemic, and that was manageable on my end. But because I was able to, the pandemic kind of sat me down and kind of made me fall in love with just the art of creating and falling back in love with the craft. Cause I would write a verse and be like, okay, it's gonna be this, and you're gonna market it this, and you do this, and you're gonna shoot this type of video. And it's like, focus on the music, focus on your feelings and all of that. Yes, I Take It Personal was created during a global pandemic and a time where I had to get back to journaling, had to get back to me. But after that, it was like, okay, as I'm getting ready to start doing shows, for Yes, I Take It Personal, like literally I had a show for the project. We had packed out the spot downtown, amazing show, all of that. Literally the next day, my DJ passes away from COVID. Rest in peace to DJ Equad. And that like really, really rocked me. And it was just like a snowball of stuff where deaths in the family, uh, my father became very ill, and that took a big toll on me. Ended up losing a job, you know, um, then ended up at home having miscarriages. And these are things, again, I didn't really publicly speak on as much. But, I'm putting a lot more of it into the music. But it's just like, I became very, very severely depressed, um, where I questioned if I still honestly wanted to be here. And did I still have purpose and things like that? So it's like going to those low points, and really having to, I don't say start from square one, but really kind of see what you're made of, really see who's in your corner with your village. But also, again, as an artist, it's just like when I picked up a pen and paper, like it wasn't just to be fresh, it wasn't just to be fly. It was like it was therapeutic for me. I want to tell my story. And my story is not the
Mm.
only story I'm trying to tell, but it's just like really getting back to that, you know, like even to the point where it's like, okay, getting back to journaling and writing, I might write some like really, really dark stuff,
Mhm.
but I had to tell myself if I write and record it, it may not get released. It might just be for me, but also too, getting comfortable at talking to people and saying it's no, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. But the mission, even in my darkest days, was always the same, which was being intentional, connecting with people. And that at the root of my music is always about connection. And that's where the stories come in, as much as I try to like run from it. Is being able to connect with people. So when you hear songs like Decompression, like I like when I released that record and I decided to put the video out first instead of just the audio, because I
Mm.
needed people to see and hear what I was going through. And it was a risk at that time. I remember my phone blowing up and people just, my closest friends, like some were like, "Are you okay?" But they were really like, "Thank you," because I was feeling the same way,
Yeah.
the pandemic. Like I felt like it was dark for me, and my walls were closing in, and you really spoke to that. Um, it's been a lot, but I'm getting back to me. I'm inspired. I'm getting in a really good place. I'm getting back to the routine. also as well, physically, you know, challenging myself to get better, as well. You know, like my doctor is like, okay, your blood work, everything's good like that, but we gotta make sure you get
Yeah.
this weight down. And it's just like, like I'm a competitive dude. I'm like, yo, my son's not gonna. We can't have these days. Like, you can't beat me in basketball till you 21. You can't beat me in a foot race until you 25. Like, I got to be able to keep up with,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it's like, but just the desire to live and be here and be present, and having bad days and having dark thoughts, but knowing what to do with those and just telling myself the world is a better place with me in it,
Yeah.
and being able to have that outlet, you know. So yeah,
Well,
it,
thank you. Listen, thank you for sharing that. Because like you said, you would be surprised at how many people are experiencing the same kind of darkness that you experienced. And sometimes God will use our greatest struggles to be our greatest testimony, right? And sometimes we're put in positions, like very troubling positions, and we don't know why we're going through this, why this is happening to us, right? But then there's always a blessing in every lesson. And like you were saying, the running joke is that every time you release an EP, life starts to life, right? And what I hate most is that sometimes our worst pain becomes our greatest endeavor. It becomes our greatest project.
yeah.
Just us working on ourselves. The fact that we are literally a work in progress. We're always working to improve ourselves. We're always working to be a better version of what we were, whether it was, a day ago, a month ago, a year ago. But
Hmm.
there is something about creative people. We have to go through the worst of times in order to produce these amazing projects. And it sucks because when everything is going well, sometimes you don't feel inspired to create. It's when you're in the darkest valley. It's when you are in this rut where you kind of can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And like you said, there are times where you're almost questioning your existence, like, why am I here, and what is my purpose, or do I even want to be here?
Hmm.
And you opening up about that, one, it gives space not only to a lot of people that may have been in that same position, but you would be surprised at how many Black men that are creatives. Most of them that I have talked to and I've interviewed have said the same thing. They have mentioned that you can hear the pain in my voice. My writing is different. My cadence is different. My sound is different. And using that pain in order to cultivate this beautiful gift, and to realize that you are the gift, right? And that
That's
you
good.
deserve to be here just like anybody else. You deserve to be in rooms that your name is being, spoken in, that you may not even be in that room, but you got people that are vouching for you. And for me, I can definitely relate. I can relate in more ways than one, let me tell you. So thank you for your transparency, and thank you for your vulnerability. And I know you probably can't see it. I told you I wasn't gonna cry, but look what you did. I'm over here tearing up, thug tears
Yeah.
coming down, everything. But it's all right because sometimes that happens, and I feel like that's a part of the release when you are creative. And when we're so busy trying to appease everybody and create these amazing projects, sometimes people don't know that you can be going through the fire, literally trying to just dig your way out of a hole where you
Like
you
life was
cannot see
just,
the end. Yeah.
I was just getting beat down. I was just catching it every time I get up. I just, and it's just like, man, can I just get a break? And,
Yep.
I found myself becoming more of a recluse and not even wanting to tap in like with my creative friends or the friends that see me. Like I know it's friends that won't judge me and are there, but I found myself even being in my head like I don't want to be an inconvenience to them, just kind of holding it in. And um it just got to a point where not releasing it, whether it be music, journaling with somebody, like it started to take its toll. So I'm
Yeah.
always, especially now more than ever, the biggest advocate for Black men in therapy and the biggest mental health advocate. Um, Especially with me, like I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for you know 4 or 5 years now, and um, it has truly been life saving. I don't know where I would be without it. And it's not just about having the space to speak, but having the tools to navigate, through
Yeah.
these things. So I'm blessed, in that case. Um, and I think also too, like, I think the weirdest thing that happened, one of the weirdest things that's happened creatively is on my last project, after decompression, is a song called All Aboard 2.0. And in my darkest moment, I was listening to it, and listening to it now, it almost sounds like I time traveled from from like 2024, 2025. Like I wrote that song in 2024, 2025 and sent it back there because it's like I thought I was overcoming stuff back then. But it's like I hear it now and it hits different because the first lines of the song are I've been down, but I bounce back, count me down, but I come back like 3-1, but it ain't over. 28-3 in the third quarter, like pretty much referencing like the historic comes back with LeBron James and Tom Brady. But it's just like saying I've been down, but I bounce back. Like it's like I was saying that then, but I hear it now and it's like it's almost like a positive confession to myself. So it's like I ended up kind of getting myself up off the canvas, listening to lyrics that I wrote, things like that. It really like empowered me, So yeah.
Imagine you being the voice of reason for yourself, not realizing that you were prophesizing over your life.
Yes,
And
that's what it feels like listening to that song.
it was almost like you were writing a letter to your future self, not knowing
Yes.
that this letter was going to be something that you were going to need at some point, right?
And it scared me the first time I had that moment because it was like kind of like an out of body experience. And the next time it was almost like I'm in the mirror saying this to myself, and it's just like, yo, I'm feeling like the greatest, you know? So yeah. That's why I say I love this thing called music. I love this culture. I love being an artist. I love supporting my fellow artists. We are sensitive, we go through a lot, but we push through.
And
So
just the fact that you can use music to not only pull other people out of trying times, but the fact that you can use music for yourself as a form of therapy, as a release, because we know therapy is not cheap. It's not cheap at all.
say it again.
um and sometimes it's hard accessing a good therapist too that can provide the right tools for what you need in that moment. But you
Woo.
being able to write a letter to your future self and use that as tools in order to navigate your situation. That's how powerful your music is. The fact that you were able to pull yourself out of a rut with your own music. And not a lot of people can say that, hey, my own music has inspired me, or my own words have inspired me to pick myself up, and to keep going and to keep pressing forward. Again, just as a black man, where black men aren't taught to talk out, their feelings and navigating their emotions, this moment could be a moment for other black men to heal too, and to find ways to navigate depression and anxiety. And I know for a lot of black men, it might be anime. Especially millennials, they often turn to anime and music. And your music, I remember seeing a clip of one of your performances. I wasn't able to go because I think I had just had autumn, or I was going through my own, situation at the time. And you had on the glove. You was holding a microphone, but I could feel the intensity from off the video, and I could feel that performance. It really it meant something to you, right? Those words meant something to you, and those words that you were speaking out into the world definitely healed somebody that night. And I remember watching that clip a couple of times and just being in awe and saying, like, this is really his thing, this is really his calling, and I hope that he knows that this is like what he's supposed to do. uh on top of, when you got to balance everything else, because life gonna life,
Mm,
bills gonna pile up.
yeah,
But everybody does not have the same calling, or everybody doesn't have the same cadence or delivery when it comes to being a great performer or a great entertainer. Especially when you have music, whether it be good enough to, play on the radio, or be mainstream, or just be like that underground music that is so good that you can't play it on the radio, right? But you've managed to kind of break into both elements.
absolutely,
Yeah, you've
absolutely.
literally navigated both aspects, where it's like you could play this song on the radio, but then you got these songs or these hits where it's like, nah, some of this stuff is so good that you cannot play it on the radio. And it will go
Yeah.
over a lot of people's heads.
Hmm. Yeah,
But that's the
I'm
art of storytelling.
correct. But that's also too. It's funny that you say that when we talk about performances and things like that, because shout out to Clever. Like we were actually just talking about that yesterday. Like we talk a lot, we motivate each other, and I was saying like one of my goals for this year um was to do more shows, like shows myself, or kind of open myself back up for more bookings, because I'm just like, it's a lot of artists that drop 7 projects in a year, or drop a lot of content, short form content, freestyle, all of that. A lot of artists, my peers and artists in the city, some of them I'm like, okay, y'all don't perform enough. And then also too, the art of performing. A lot of people don't understand that, how to truly be an MC, how to master a crowd, learn your words, don't always rap over vocals, things like that. And it's just like, that's where I thrive. Like, I kind of came up where, my first managers had me rehearsing at 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. We would jog, saying our lyrics, coming up studying Michael Jackson, MC Hammer, in the 90s and things like that. But even like now, like when I go to shows, like kind of watching how artists put together shows. And when it comes to like on that stage, like it's nobody messing with me. I tell people all the time, and that show that you were referencing, I'm like, at my current size, it's not many in the city that can mess with me. And I can say that proudly. Like at my current size, with my stage, my performance, my stamina, endurance, how I put my shows together. Um, and that this again, the clip you were referencing with the red glove, that's when I knew it. And when I performed all aboard 2.0, that was when I was like, oh yeah, this is probably my favorite song to perform because the way I was feeling when I say it to myself, that's when I realized it resonated with everybody else. So everybody else in the crowd, I bent down, this bang. So, and it's just like it's one of those songs where it's like I get chills now just thinking about next time I perform it. I'm like, oh, we finna shut it down. So um I can't wait. I can't wait to get back out there. I have so many ideas. I can't wait to revisit that as well as um kind of implement a lot of new stuff and really share what I've been cooking. So I'm
So
I'm
I know
I'm
you
very
are.
excited.
I know you got some projects lined up. So tell us what are you working on? What have you been working on as of late?
Yeah, like I said, your boy is back in that zone. A couple months ago, I was actually in Atlanta with my brother Irock said. Shout out to Irock said. We were just in the lab cranking them out. Literally, I was down there with the and I didn't really tell anybody that I was coming. Like I came in town to record with him and my big bro Courtney. And just between them two studios, seeing family here, there. I'm in the studio till 2, 3 in the morning. I'm writing stuff. I'm more inspired than I ever did. And it's just like the project that I was working on, it kind of developed into possibly 3 EPs that are like loosely based on certain periods of like my life. And there's gonna be each one's gonna have like a different executive producer. So that's like the primary focus. And then challenging myself to kind of let go of some of these records that I've been holding on to. And I got another joint project I'm working on with another artist. Can't tell you who yet, but so there's a lot of music and I'm pushing myself like never before. And then lastly, it's hard to believe it, but yes, I take it personal. We'll be out 5 years this summer. And so for the 5 year, I'm doing a show. I'm gonna perform the project, either top to bottom, or I'm gonna kind of put out a vote and kind of see how people want me to do it. Because normally in my shows, there's like a story, and it's kind of see how people want it to go, but top to bottom, and then also we're gonna do a physical release for it as well and more merch. So be
Good,
looking out
good.
for the re-release. Yes, I take it personal. Um, the new projects that's coming out. I can't wait to share this stuff with you all. It's the one side. It's the growth. It's the ability to share music. But then it's like the other side where it's just like I be listening to myself, be like, yo, I really be rapping. I be like, yo, you niggas can't see me. Like it's like when I really, really yo, like y'all must have forgot who I am. Like when you say lyricists, I want to be like heavy on the lyricists. Like niggas don't
Heavy,
be rapping no more. So yeah.
heavy
But no,
cream.
it's real. Yeah. Like it's really 2026 to me is about pushing all my chips to the center of the table. Like it's time. So be looking out, for those EPs, and yeah.
Well, Train, I listen. You already know. You keep me posted, and I'm always there. I will be the first in line. And let me just say again, congratulations for everything that you've accomplished, everything that you've endured and overcame, and just being the comeback king and saying, I deserve to be here. And I'm going to let ninjas know why I deserve to be here. All bets are on me. I'm putting my chips in the center of the table.